Well, greetings and salutations, guys. Welcome back to the channel for this installment of Open Mic. Open Mic is exactly what it sounds like. The mic is open. The floor, as they would say, is yours. What do you guys want to talk about? That's what we're here to discuss today. For those of you who don't know, Open Mic is just basically a more casual, laid-back sort of version of the John Campea show, where instead of a whole bunch of news topics, all we really do is take your live questions, and we're really glad that you guys are here. So now by the way, I should introduce myself. My name is John Campea. For those of you who are new around here, good to have you guys here. So let's talk about one thing in particular. Now, the way we normally do Open Mic is I normally have what I call a icebreaker, where I have like one topic that we'll discuss for a few minutes, just kind of get things rolling. Then you guys can throw in a question or whatever you want into the super chats. By the way, the super chats are already significantly full. But I will leave, since it's open mic, I'll leave them open for a while longer. So if you do have a thought, comment, question, issue you'd like to hear me talk about, as long as I deem it appropriate to talk about it, I will answer it. So go ahead and I'll leave it open for a little while longer. But I thought we would talk about this to get started, which is a question that's come up a lot, even before Spider-Man Brand New Day came out. But I've been getting it a lot since Spider-Man Brand New Day came out. So I thought we would talk about it right now. And that is, are we ready to say that Marvel is back? Is Marvel back? Because, I mean, there's no disputing it. Even if you're somebody who didn't like Spider-Man Brand New Day, right? And all film is art, and all art is subjective, and that means it's not going to hit everybody the same way. Maybe you saw Spider-Man Brand New Day and you didn't like it, and that's totally fine. But I think even if you are one of the people who didn't really like Spider-Man Brand New Day, I think you would acknowledge that just about everybody else does. That doesn't make you wrong. It just means everybody else did like it. So coming off of Brand New Day, everybody seemed to love it. It's going to end up being one of the highest grossing films of all time. So are we now ready to say that it's back? Now, this live chat has been open for about 12 hours already. So I've already seen a lot of the comments. Even some people are saying Marvel never went anywhere. Somebody's saying, Marcus is saying, my hot take, it never left. Well, that's a very optimistic appraisal of the situation. But, I mean, like you're saying, to quote the great LL Cool J, don't call it a comeback. I've been here for years. But let's take a look at where did Marvel go and are they back? So to do that, let's jump over to the classroom for a second. Is Marvel back? Because here's the thing. For years, maybe if I can get this to type, here we go. For years, the MCU was almost guaranteed quality, right? Almost guaranteed quality. I think what I mean by that is, yes, there was Iron Man 2, which sucked. And yes, there was Thor: The Dark World, which sucked. But other than those two things, everything was either very good, amazing, or absolutely fantastic, right? Just about everything the MCU. The way I like to put it is, prior to Endgame, it was banger after banger after banger after banger, right? It was just all awesome. And this was the saying that you guys have heard me use about MCU at that time. When we would go into an MCU movie, okay, and here's what was the big differences, and this is why a lot of us say that, yeah, Marvel kind of went away. This is what the saying that we've been using. Prior to Endgame, okay, prior to Endgame, or including Endgame, so everything up to Endgame, right? When we went to a Marvel movie, a lot of you guys know what I'm about to say. When we would go to a Marvel movie, we expected it to be great, right? Like when we normally go to a movie, we go into a movie hoping it'll be good. Like we hope it's good. Or maybe we might even think it'll be good. But with Marvel, they were just so consistently good. And I see somebody in live chat saying they didn't like Ultron is actually really good. Ultron was actually really good. And you know what? It gets better every time I watch it. But whatever, that aside. Again, all art is subjective. But that was the reality. Every time a Marvel movie was coming out, we all had no doubt it was going to be great. Yes, some better than others, but we had no doubt we were going to have a really good time when we went to go see it. Because despite the odd hiccup like an Iron Man 2 or a Thor 2, it just always delivered, right? It was an expectation that we were going to have a good time. However, since Endgame, things have changed. The consistency of quality of the Marvel product has rapidly deteriorated. And as a result, we went from a place of where we expected it to be great to, for the last 7 years, whenever we would turn on Disney Plus for a new MCU show, or whenever we would go to the movies to see a new Marvel movie, we hoped it would be good. We went from expecting it to be great to hoping it would be good. And that is a big difference. And that is why we have to ask the question, is Marvel now back? Because in that period of time, now, again, granted, Iron Man 2 sucked the baloney. Thor 2, The Dark World, not so great. Okay, yeah. But that was like 15 years, like everything from Iron Man to Endgame. But since Endgame, we got a lot more disappointing things out of Marvel than we ever did in those first 15 years, right? Like, let's talk about Ant-Man 3, just like considerable garbage. Echo was pedestrian at best. Hawkeye wasn't terrible, but it certainly wasn't MCU quality. My goodness, Secret Invasion. What kind of nonsense was absolute tripe was that? Even Moon Knight, which wasn't awful. Moon Knight wasn't awful. It's just that it was, for me, Moon Knight was, this could go either way. There were some episodes I really liked, some episodes I really did. And I thought, you know what? I remember saying this before the finale came out, saying, I think the finale is ultimately going to dictate whether long-term I'm going to think about this movie as being or this show was a good show or not a good show. And the finale sucked. So I'm going to include like Moon Knight on that list. Then we had Ironheart. I don't even know if I'm spelling it right, but nobody cares if I'm spelling that right or not. So, I mean, that was like utterly forgettable. It had its moments. I will say Ironheart had its moments, but we didn't need the 15th Iron Man rendition in there. She-Hulk had all the potential in the world. It started really good. Like, She-Hulk started really good. That doesn't seem to usually be a problem for Marvel, starting things well. But it ultimately committed the worst sin you can do. You were a comedy that wasn't funny. And when you're a comedy, you can get away with a lot of things, but you cannot get away with not being funny. And it had its moments. I don't care. Y'all can go fuck yourselves. The twerking scene was one of the only absolutely hilarious moments of that series. I don't care what anybody tries to tell you. You're not supposed to laugh at that. I don't give a shit. That movie, that moment, I almost died. I was laughing so hard. That and the Daredevil Walk of Shame is one of the greatest things Marvel has ever put on screen. Unfortunately, that's two really funny moments in a show that had 17,000 moments, right? It was a very unfunny show. all around, other than a couple of moments. And you can't do that. You can't do that. I know the movie has its fans, but I'm sorry, guys. I know we love Ryan Coogler, and I think he's one of the best directors today. You know, Sinners was my favorite movie of 2024. I loved Sinners. I thought it was amazing. Was it 2024 or 2025? I'm terrible with dates. I can't keep track. And I love Black Panther, but I'm sorry. Black Panther 2 wasn't it. And I get it. Listen, I give Ryan Coogler a total pass on that. He made that movie under impossible circumstances. Impossible circumstances. So I give him a pass on it. But yeah, Black Panther 2 was, to me, was a dud. It wasn't terrible. It was a dud. It was like completely forgettable. Never going to go back and watch it again. Just like a number of other MC3s. Dear heavens. They did Anthony Mackie dirty because Captain America, I guess you can call it Captain America 4. That was a dud. It was really a Hulk sequel with Falcon put into it. I'm sorry. Again, I'm sorry to all of you out there who love Bucky and who love Sam, but Bucky is not Captain America. Sam is not Captain America. Steve Rogers is Captain America. Bucky is the Winter Soldier. Sam is an amazing Falcon. Nobody is Captain America but Steve Rogers. Somebody else can carry the shield, but you're not Captain America any more than your name is Steve Rogers. You're Sam Wilson, and you're amazing. But he's still Falcon. Anyway. But yeah, they did Anthony Mackie dirty by giving him a pretty piss-poor conceit and a pretty piss-poor script. And yeah, they just did him dirty. What else am I forgetting? There's a whole bunch more, guys. What else it was in there that was like utterly forgettable? But you know, okay, so there was a whole bunch of things forgettable. I am not going to be a negative Nancy, though, and say nothing since Endgame has been good. There has been some really good things that Marvel has done in that intern. Shang-Chi, utterly, completely fantastic. WandaVision, amazing. Ms. Marvel, amazing. Loki, I don't think Loki was amazing, but it was good. I'm going to put this one under the good category. I'm not going to say like they went completely to the crapper. They didn't go to the crapper. But Marvel, again, went from we expect it to be great when we go into it, and now they've been so inconsistent, we just hope that when we go to see an MCU thing, that it's good. And that's a huge drop-off. That is a huge step backwards. And we can go into all the discussions about Bob Paycheck and, you know, oversaturation and, hey, it's art, you're bound to make a few bad ones. I mean, yes, we can get into a lot of that discussion, but for whatever the reason was, whatever you think the reason is, which is irrelevant, the reality is it was a big drop-off. The level of consistent quality that we experienced in Marvel dropped considerably in the last age, right? So that brings us to now, when we are again asking the question, is Marvel back? And whenever one good thing would come out, or let's say Guardians 3 came out, which was another one of the really good ones. Guardians 3 was great. Eternals I thought was good. Guardians 3 was great. Yeah, again, they had some wins. But they were very inconsistent. They never really peaked the level of, or at least few of them peaked the way the first three phases peaked. Shang-Chi did, Guardian 3 did, whatever. But whenever one good Marvel thing would come out, everybody asks, is Marvel back now? Is Marvel back now? And I would always say the same thing. It's like, whoa. Let's pump our brakes about talking about is Marvel back when they just put out one good thing. Let's see if they put together a string of things. Let's see if there's some consistency. Well, the reason I think that it's a relevant question to ask now, is Marvel back, is, well, because of a couple things. I'm going to say lately, I think the consistency has been fantastic. I'll start on the TV side. Daredevil Born Again, I think, is excellent. Nobody's watching it. Nobody's watching Daredevil Born Again, right? The ratings have not been good. It is what it is. But I don't care about those numbers when talking about is Marvel back. I'm talking about is their quality level back. And while I wasn't ready to say that Born Again Season 1 was on the same level of the Netflix stuff, although I really liked Born Again Season 1. I thought it was really, really good. I thought I thought Daredevil Born Again Season 2 was fantastic. I loved it. I'm not going to say it's the best thing on Marvel's Disney Plus stuff, but I thought it was excellent. Okay. So we got Daredevil Born Again. And then we got Thunderbolts. Granted, I like Thunderbolts more than most people do. But Thunderbolts was a wonderful movie. That is a wonderful movie. And the inconsistency in Marvel, I think, was part of and the fact that it's a very unknown property. Yeah, the movie only made like, what, $400 million? Something around that? Whatever. It broke even. Good for them. But the fact of the matter is, when you put out a bunch of mediocre quality, you're going to see a declining in interest. You're going to see a declining in returns. And so, Thunderbolts, it did what Thunderbolts did. But the important thing was, it was a wonderful movie. It was a wonderful movie. And I don't know that I like it quite as much as Shang-Chi, but it's right up there amongst the best things Marvel has done since Endgame. Like, I thought it was really, really great. All right. Well, then we had Fantastic Four. And you know what? I don't think Fantastic Four First Steps was necessarily as good as Thunderbolts, but it was really good. I really enjoyed it. Ann and I went to go see it 2 or 3 times. Ann loved it, but we went to go to see it 2 or 3 times. And I just had it just reminded me of how it used to feel watching Marvel movies. You go into the theater, you strap in, and you're just really entertained. And that's what Fantastic Four did for me. I don't give numbers on my reviews. I don't go 8 out of 10 because everybody's stupid. The 8 out of 10 means something completely different to everybody else. I used to do the stupid thing of giving a number score to a movie, and I'd say, hey, this movie was really good. I really enjoyed it. Solid 7 out of 10. And then somebody say, 7 out of 10? Why'd you hate it? Why did you hate it, John? If you liked it, you give it more than 7 out of 10. It's like, are you an idiot? 7 is only 3 away from perfect. What are you talking about? No, 7 is bad. If it's not at least 9.8, it's bad. So anyway, that's why I don't give numerical scores to movies. I haven't done it in like 5 years, I don't think. Anyway, but just for argument's sake, if we were giving numerical scores, by my metrics, I probably would give Fantastic Four like a really good solid 7.5. And again, I don't do number scores because that means something different to everybody. But for me, that's probably what I would have landed. I thought it was a really good movie. I enjoyed it. Really good. Not an all-time great, but really good. Well, then we got Wonder Man. And that show completely shocked me. That show completely shocked me. I had very little expectations for it because Marvel didn't seem to put a lot of marketing behind it. It very kind of quietly got made. It kind of quietly came out, but they did put it out. I still can't believe how good that show is for what, and it's a very non-traditional Marvel kind of show. And it's a very non-traditional, because normally traditional Marvel stuff is bang, explosion, boom, spectacle. Wonder Man was just like all story and characters. And I loved it. I absolutely loved it. I thought it was great. So we got Wonder Man, and now ultimately we got Spider-Man Brand New Day. Guys, I'm the one who, whenever, somebody, Marvel would put out one good thing, they have to put out one good thing, And people would ask, is it back? And I'm the one who would always say, pump your brakes, take a beat. It's not about one project. I mean, winning cures everything, and that's a great start, but you got to start stringing together some wins. You got to have some consistency. I'm the one who's always cautioned everybody, whoa, 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 let's calm the Marvel is back talk. But guys, the last bunch of things I've seen from Marvel is, in no particular order, Daredevil, Thunderbolts, Fantastic Four, Wonder Man, and the absolutely fantastic Spider-Man Brand New Day. Absolutely fantastic Spider-Man Brand New Day. I'll call it, as a lot of other people already have, but I'll join them. Marvel's back. Marvel's back. The reason we say they left is because they lost their quality consistency. The reason I'm going to say they're back is because they seem to have regained their quality consistency. They seem to have regained their quality consistency. Somebody's saying, don't forget about Deadpool versus Wolverine. Oh yeah, I love Deadpool and Wolverine. Loved it. But after Deadpool and Wolverine came a couple of bad things. Like, right? Like, was Captain America 4 came after Deadpool and Wolverine. And it was like, so they haven't done it. But now we got this streak. X-Men 97 doesn't count. I'm sorry. Marvel's animated slop doesn't count. Nobody watches the Marvel animated stuff. Nobody watches it. Like, its ratings are super small. I think What If was hit and miss. Like, some of their little episodes are really, really good, and some of them were really a waste of time. Marvel Zombies was ultimately just a time killer. X-Men 97 season 1 was really quite good. I was not impressed with X-Men, but at the end of the day, nobody cares, because the average person walking down the street will go to see MCU movies and may even watch Agatha all along. But the average person on the street isn't tuning in to watch X-Men 97. So I don't really count that stuff. And yeah, I agree. Agatha was great. It was way better. Let's put it this way. Agatha was way better than it had any business being. I was surprised. It was way better than it had any business being. So anyway, yeah, I'm willing to say Marvel's back. Now the real big one though, the thumper of an explanation point, of course, is going to be Doomsday. Because all this is great. Daredevil, Thunderbolts, Fantastic Four, Wonder Man, Spider-Man. That's a win streak. That's a win streak. And when you get win streaks like that, you see the increase in box office returns. Like, listen, one of the reasons Spider-Man Brand New Day is making over $2 billion, one of the reasons, not the reason, not even necessarily the most important one, but one of the reasons Spider-Man Brand New Day is making the money it is because the number of projects preceding that has started to reestablish Marvel's reputation of quality. Spider-Man Brand New Day was going to make a lot of money regardless, but it wouldn't have made as much money as it has already if Thunderbolts had sucked, if Fantastic Four had sucked, if Wonder Man had sucked. Like, if more hits to Marvel's reputation and image, Spider-Man Brand New Day, still massive hit, but not as big. One of the reasons it's as big is because of this quality buildup. Now, we're heading into Doomsday. Doomsday is now that film. It's the project that is either going to absolutely, without question, cement that Marvel is back, but because it's an Avengers movie, it could also derail it pretty quick. So I'm ready to say Marvel's back. They've just regained what they had lost. Quality, consistency. It's back. Now, a lot of different things can happen after Doomsday, but, Doomsday notwithstanding, and Doomsday can change things for the better or for the worse. But where we are right now, August 23rd, I'm willing to say Marvel's back. Something I've warned everybody against saying up until this point, but I'm willing to say that Marvel is back. All right, guys. That's that in the question. And listen, maybe you don't think it is, and that's perfectly fine. This is movies. It's art. It's subjective. Just because I think it is doesn't mean you have to agree with me, but now you know why I think it is. So anyway, there's that. All right. With that said and out of the way, guys, let's go over and start taking your questions. You know what? I'm going to have to turn off the super chats now. I've already got double the amount that normally come in, that I normally allow to come in on a John Campea show. So I am having to turn off the super chats because we have way too many of them. Thank you, by the way. It's a great problem to have. So let's see here. Let me see if I can get this loaded up. Give me a moment and we will get started with the Q&A. Wow, there's a lot. Holy crap, there's a lot. Okay, we're going to start off with Remmer Bulldog, who writes, where are we at? There he is. Yes, Marvel is back since 2024. They've had one miss, and that was Brave New World. Quality-wise, they're back. Yeah, that's the argument I make as well, Remmer, is that when you just look at the consistency, I mean, fine, if we want to take in Brand New World, let's also bring in Deadpool and Wolverine. But then with that one bad thing, we've had, you know, then Ironheart was in there too, but that's been forgotten pretty quickly. That I just, like, again, even in just the movies, Thunderbolts, Fantastic Four, Spider-Man Brand New Day, all winners in my opinion, leading into Doomsday. I think they're back. All right, Remmer also writes, also, a lot of hit and miss MCU was a couple of years ago now since the Bob Paycheck era ended. Yeah, but remember, like, even once Bob Chapek left, his influence doesn't leave just at that. And let's not blame it all on Bob Chapek. Like, was a lot of it Bob Chapek's fault? Absolutely. Absolutely. 100% it was. He took away Kevin Feige's authority. He put middle management into place. He put out a mandate. And remember, a Marvel executive confirmed this, said the memo to them was, you need to produce as much as you can, as fast as you can. That became the new mandate. That became the job. So was it all Bob Paycheck's fault? Absolutely not. It was not 100% his fault. Was he one of the big reasons? Yeah. Yeah, he really was. Anyway. Next up, Drummer Life writes, great thumbnails lately. Keep it up, Ray. Well, Ray actually does not make our thumbnails. Ray stopped making the show thumbnails a long time ago because Ray switched to just working on the post-production of the show. So he was only working 1 to 2 hours a day because he made that shift off camera. So ever since that, I've been making the thumbnails. Now, Jonathan makes the thumbnails for the individual segments because Jonathan now does it. And as a matter of fact, Ray doesn't actually work with us anymore. Because you guys remember Ray stepped back a while ago to be off camera. But it just got to the point where there really wasn't a lot for Ray to do. And it just made more sense for Jonathan and me to do some of the stuff that Ray was doing. And so recently Ray is no longer, I'm not going to say he's no longer with us as if he passed away. He still lives up the street. But Ray is no longer working on the show and that stuff. So just so you know. All right. Next up, we've got Drummer Life writes, which top 10 box office film is your favorite? I don't know off the top of my head what the top 10 box office films are. I guess I'll look it up. Give me a second. I'm going to guess out of the top 10 box office one. I'm going to guess, where is it? There we go. All time worldwide. So in the top 10, we got Avatar, Avengers Endgame, Avatar The Way of Water, Titanic, Spider-Man Brand New Day, Star Wars The Force Awakens, Avengers Infinity War, Spider-Man No Way Home, and Zootopia 2. I think out of those 10, oh, and Inside Out 2. I think out of those 10, I'll say Avengers Infinity War. Yeah. Yeah, I'll say Avengers Infinity War is my favorite film of the top 10 movies. All right. Next up, Broomy writes, I'd love a Beta Ray Bill in the MCU with the personality of Battle Beast from Invincible. Hungry for fights against worthy opponents. Battle Beast is so cool. Yeah, but Battle Beast is very cool for the pages of a comic and is very good for short form animation. But that's not a main character, right? That's the thing that makes him such an enjoyable side character is also the thing that would prevent him from being a compelling protagonist of their own series, because they're pretty one-dimensional. By the way Battle Beast dies is epic. And the fact that Thrag respects him so much that he makes his royal robe out of Battle Beast's hide is awesome. Like, that's epic. Anyway, their fight was amazing. So anyway, sorry, side note. I just don't know that Battle Beast, again, it's the thing that those things that make him such a great side character, I think are also the things that would prevent him from being a really good main protagonist in anything, or one of the lead characters, because it's just kind of one-dimensional. But anyway, that's that. That doesn't take away from the fact that he's a great, interesting character. All right. See, next up, Ian McAllister writes, my high school chorus teacher always said this in terms of hitting the right note. 1 is luck, twice is coincidence, 3 times you got it. Marvel's a three-time win. Yeah. Once, what I've often heard said is once is a mistake, twice is a pattern. Once is a mistake, twice is a pattern. I think there's some wisdom in that. All right, next up. Ian also writes, I should clarify consecutive ones. No, I totally got what you meant there, Ian. All right, next up. Luna sends in a $20 super chat. Thank you, Luna. And Luna writes, hey, John, regarding Doomsday homework segment, all I saw was countdown list on Disney Plus, not a must-watch list for everyone. Wouldn't many Disney Plus subscribers enjoy watching an MCU movie 1 season per week until release day? I never said they wouldn't. I never said they wouldn't. I never said, but the thing is, it wasn't just that. They specifically set out the things that give context to Avengers Doomsday. Of course, Marvel fans would love, like, look, there's a huge list of wonderful Marvel projects. Huge list. And I'm sure a lot of Marvel fans, I know a lot of Marvel fans who do, like, every year do a full watch. Like, once a week we'll watch, some Marvel thing. 100%. But regardless of what they name it, it does highlight one of the big problems the MCU has fallen into that they're now trying to correct, which was the MCU all the way up to Endgame never needed you to watch anything before it. Because Kevin Feige had this philosophy. He may not have said it out loud, but you could see it in the movies. Kevin Feige had a philosophy, and this is the key. This is the magic sauce that made Marvel so successful, was that every new Marvel project was a valid entry point for a new fan. There was no gatekeeping in the MCU. Every project coming out was a valid entry point for a new fan. No, fans never had to feel like, oh, well, that Ant-Man 2 looks good, but I've never seen any of the other Marvel stuff. Oh, well, can't go. No. You could go into Ant-Man 2 and you wouldn't have been lost at all. Would you have some more context and everything had you seen Ant-Man 1? Sure. Would you have a little bit more color and context if you had seen the other MCU stuff? Yeah, sure. But you would never have walked into, you wouldn't have walked into Ant-Man 2 and watched it totally clean and felt lost. Never would have felt lost. I've told you guys about it. I had a friend who'd never seen any Marvel films, watched Endgame, totally understood everything. Yeah, there were some references that probably went over their head. Yeah, there were some inside jokes or some callbacks that they didn't get. But as a movie, the structure of a movie, they were able to walk in, totally get what was happening and understood the consequences and blah, blah, blah. And they never even saw Infinity War. That was the genius sauce of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. But that started to fall apart. that started to fall apart. Because if you had the misfortune of walking into Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, and heaven help you if you hadn't seen Endgame and WandaVision, you're like, wait, what? Wait, Wanda's a good guy, right? I thought Wanda was a good guy. Like all of a sudden, a bunch of Marvel things that started coming out completely assumed that you needed to have prior knowledge. The award for completely missing the point goes to Steve. Says you need to have seen everything to fully appreciate the film. Okay, let me say it more simply. Okay, let me simplify it even more than I already did. Of course, if you had seen everything, there would be references you would get that somebody who hadn't seen everything wouldn't understand. There would be some nuance to some things that you would recognize that not everybody else who hadn't seen them would. But that doesn't mean that you couldn't fully easily walk into a movie and not felt lost. Like, I get it. They explain that this is the hero, that this is the villain, that this is what's at stake. Here's the action that's trying to resolve it, and this is the conclusion. And I felt like I was able to watch the movie, and I never felt lost. Of course, as I already said, if you did see a lot of things, you'll be able to pick up some more of the nuance and understand some more of the background, sure. But Marvel designed their films where anybody at any point could just step into the MCU and watch and appreciate it. Right? You'd be able to step in, and that's why they were so successful. Because by the time they got to year 7 and year 8, if they weren't doing that, then they wouldn't keep building new audiences because people would be like, oh, well, I'd have to catch up on 6 years worth of stuff to come in and watch this. Forget it. No, they made their movies so you could just step in and watch it. And they've gotten off that path. They've gotten off that path. And Kevin Feige has directly spoken to that and saying, we need to get back to that. And after Endgame, or sorry, I should say after Doomsday, well, no, more specifically, after Secret Wars, they're going to streamline everything again and make it so every new project becomes a valid entry point for somebody in the MCU. And then once they get on board, they can go, wow, that was really good. So what else does Marvel already have out? All this stuff on Disney Plus? Cool. I'm going to go back and watch Iron Man. Cool. I'm going to go back and watch Guardians of the Galaxy. Cool. I'm going to go back and watch Doctor Strange. Right. And that's the genius. That was the magic sauce of Marvel, and they need to get back to it. They absolutely need to get back to it. Okay. Next up, The Viewpoint writes, great year for TV. Shrinking, Boys, Invincible, Daredevil. I don't know what KO7K is. House of the Dragon, Lanterns, well, Lanterns is only one episode in, but it is great so far. Let's see if it maintains it. Ted Lasso has been so good so far. Wonder Man and still Dexter, Harry Potter to come. Yeah, man, first of all, Dexter, the new Dexter was great, which really surprised me. Can I just say this about, I had only watched the first episode of the new season of Ted Lasso. So last night, Ann and I got caught up. Man, the beauty of that show, I am always moved by the beauty of the show. And even though it's been gone for a couple years, I felt like it never left. Ted Lasso is again, there's no villain, there's no whatever. It's just about flawed, good people trying to be good to other people. And there's something so therapeutic to the soul that I just love it. But yeah, so far it has been a great season, a great year for TV. All right, Jake writes, if Clayface underperforms, do you think Ellison will intervene with DC because of Supergirl's failure by changing direction and firing people? Well, number one, I'm not convinced David Ellison's going to have a say. I don't, because remember, they don't own Warner Brothers, and I don't know if they will by the time Clayface comes out. They might. They might not. Well, you guys already know my position on this. I made a video about it a long time ago. If Ellison does end up taking over DC, James Gunn is going to leave. He's going to quit. I don't think James Gunn wants to have anything to do with those people. And now his contract isn't up until 2027. But like, yeah, I believe that the moment his contract is up, if Paramount takes over Warner Brothers, I believe James Gunn is going to exercise the right in his contract to leave. So I think he'll be gone. And then you'll be right back to square one again. You'll be right back to square one again. So yeah, it's not a matter of that. It's a matter of if Elson's there. You guys know my position. I made a full editorial about it, laying out exactly all the reasons why James Gunn is just going to say, see ya. And then just like the last time he was a free agent, every single studio is going to line up to offer him whatever he wants, and he'll go somewhere else. But yeah, I think he's going to leave if the Elsons take over. All right. Which again, he will have the contractual right to do in 2027. Okay. Next up, Wildcat Karma writes, how well do you think Hunger Games Sunrise on the Reaping will do at the box office when it comes out in November? I don't think great. I don't think it's going to do great. I think it shockingly looks great. Like, it looks really good. Like, the trailers for it have been surprisingly good. Like, and I'm not a huge Hunger Games guy at all. And like the whole Hunger Games shoots and ladders, snakes and trees, apples and pies, whatever that last one was, it was all right. That was an all right movie. It was okay. But I mean, I was kind of surprised to hear they're making another Hunger Games thing. I think that's kind of kicking a dead horse. So I don't think it's going to make a lot of money. But at the same time, I do think it looks surprisingly good. So who knows? Maybe that'll help it. We'll see. But if you're just straight up asking, how much do I think it'll make? I honestly don't think it's going to make a lot. All right. Let's see. Where are we at here? Ian McAllister writes, if the rumors of the X-Men fighting Toby is true, I will put the inhibitors on them myself. Somebody get these mutants out of here. Well, again, that's a rumor. I'm not going to talk about the whatever too much. It's that those pictures were out. I mean, all those outlets were running with the pictures of it. But I will not comment on what does or does not happen. All right. Yarda writes, only 3 70mm IMAXs in the EU. Really? I knew it was a small number. I didn't know it was that small. The one here in Prague is sold out because people come all over. They added the Odyssey screenings till mid-September, raised prices by 30% and still selling out. I wonder how long they can keep going. I mean, listen, everything about the Odyssey has been a wild, wild success story. I mean, it's crossed 1.3 billion. Actually, let me take a look here. It may be getting close to 1.4 now as I bring it up. Oh, no. It's closing in on 1.5 now. Yeah, the Odyssey is now closing in on 1.5. It's at 1.44 billion. Which again is confusing because a whole bunch of blogs and podcasts and YouTube channels told me it was going to flop. Didn't you get the message, everybody? That Odyssey was going to flop? Everybody's it's going to flop. Oh no, there's a black girl in it. Oh, it's going to flop. Oh, wow. Okay. I hope my film can flop like this. 1.4 billion. Closing in on 1.5. Anyway. So the fact that scarcity does oftentimes lead to demand, right? Scarcity can often sometimes create demand, but I know there's not a lot of 70mm IMAX screens, but I did not know there were that few over there. That's amazing. So yeah, it could have legs for a while. I mean, IMAX has contracts with other movies. So at some point there's going to be another movie that has to push Odyssey out because again, they have contracts with other movies. That will happen. But I think Odyssey is going to continue to do well in IMAX right up until that day happens when it's forced to leave because other movies have the contractual right to take over those screens. It's crazy. Philly on Fire writes, what's in Doom's hand at 37 seconds if you freeze it in the newer trailer? I have no idea. Philly. I don't know. He's clearly holding a sword or a flagpole, maybe with a Latveria flag off screen. Curious, I haven't heard anybody talk about this. Probably because nobody cares. Like, if he's holding some random thing in his hand, it's probably an insignificant thing. I mean, maybe it plays and becomes something significant in the movie itself. But I don't think anybody's talking about it, probably because it's not important. But yeah, again, I can't comment on it though, Philly, because I don't know what's at the 32nd frame of the trailer off the top of my head. So I don't really know. If you have a theory, I would love to hear what your theory might be. But yeah, I have no idea what it would be because I don't remember that. All right. Eduardo writes, "Hey, John, it's been a while. Fan since your Man of Steel review when I was 15. My God. So glad I clicked on that video. Can't wait for our first Doomsday 12 a.m. showing. Yeah, I've got my first tickets. I've got tickets to the very first public screening. Let me see if I can pull it up here. The very first official public screening is going to be, where there's my AMC, 1:30 p.m. Thursday, December 17th. 1:30 p.m. Thursday, December 17th is my first screening of Avenger, you know, provided they don't then release some like Amazon tickets for advanced fan screenings, whatever. But that's it. I got that 1:30 p.m. Thursday, December 17th is going to be my first screening of it. And then I'm going to watch Doomsday or Dune 3 a little bit later in the day. That's going to be a good day, my friends. That is going to be a good day, Eduardo. All right. Patrick Stewart sends in a $50 super chat. Thank you, Patrick. Appreciate that, man. Thank you so much for supporting us on that level. And Patrick writes in, "My dad and I just saw an early access screening of Coyote versus Acme. We found the movie to be hilarious. The cast did an amazing job and performed their hearts out. To add to our awesome experience, we saw an AMC laser with signature recliners." All right. I shouldn't tell you guys this, but I will. So I'm going to open it up here. Give me a second. So you guys know, and I just talked about it on the last show, for the last 3+ years, I've had a rule that I don't accept any press stuff. I don't go to press junkets. I don't accept doing interviews. I don't do red carpets. I don't go to premieres. I don't go to press screenings. I just don't. And I've already given all my lists as to why I don't. And my life is better as a result. I still get all the invitations. And this one's interesting. Because I got, I'll see if I can screen capture here. I'll see if I'll put a bit of it here on the screen. Hold a second. I'll just pull this part of it so you guys can see what I'm talking about. So I still get all these invitations to come to all these things, but I just never accept. I never go, right? So I got this one. I'm only going to include the stuff that doesn't have private information in it. But I got this thing in my email that says, John, you've been subpoenaed by Mr. Wile E. Coyote as a key witness to Coyote versus Acme and 4DX. The screening will be on Tuesday, August 25th, blah, 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 blah. Okay, so I get these all the time. So I got this one here. And one of my friends said to me, you know, John, you know what you should do? I said, what's that? He said, you're always saying this movie's going to flop. I said, yes. Yeah, Coyote. Look, don't shoot the messenger, but Coyote versus Acme is going to flop. It's going to do horrible at the box office. I think right now it's projected to make single digits, like 7 million opening weekend, 8 million opening weekend, something along those lines. But I've also said that, man, it looks really, really good. It looked, I have to admit, it looked like, I think, listen, it's the unpopular thing to say. Nobody agrees with me, but it's always lonely being right. Warner Brothers made the right decision shelving the film and then ultimately selling it off. because it is going to lose money. It's going to lose money. Just is. But I got to admit, it looks wonderful. And everybody I've talked to, Patrick, who has already seen the movie, tells me it's fantastic. Tells me it's fantastic. And if you're saying, like you're now saying you saw it and it was awesome, right? So my friend says to me, he says, you know, you've got this rule about not going all press stuff. Like, I get it. But you've been saying that this movie's going to flop. But you've also been saying that it's a shame because it looks really good and you're hearing it's fantastic. I'm like, yeah. He goes, well, why don't you make an exception for Coyote versus Acme and really see if you can promote it? Like, if you think it's really good, if you do end up really liking it and you think it's really enjoyable, maybe you can make a little exception to your rule about not doing any press stuff, go to this press stuff, and then early, before the movie comes out, start telling your audience, if you liked it, start telling your audience how good it was and how much you liked it. And maybe see if you can, like, I'm a little nobody on the internet. I have 0.000000001% influence anywhere. But he said, why don't you use whatever little tiny influence you have and see if you can promote the film? If you actually think it's that good and you think it's going to do that bad, why don't you just make one little exception and go do it for this movie? So you know what? I might. I just might. Yeah, I just might. So I haven't made a final decision on that yet about whether I'm going to go, but I am thinking about it. And so it'll be like the first press anything that I've gone to in years. Cause like I said, I decline all of them, but this one I might go to. And because I do have to say, I do think it looks fantastic. And everybody I've talked to says it's really, really good. And yet I still believe it's going to absolutely fall on up face and flop. I don't think anybody's going to go see it, but maybe I'll do that. I will keep you guys appraised and up to date on that whenever I make up my mind about all that. All right. Anyway, thanks for that, Patrick. Glad you liked it. Next up, Patrick again writes in, this time writes in a $20 super chat. Thank you, Patrick. Appreciate that, dude. And Patrick writes, my dad and I thank a fellow viewer of the John Campea show for super chatting about Coyote versus Acme early access screenings on the show. End of Oak Street viewing for us is tomorrow. Marvel is definitely back, in my opinion. And you know what? End of Oak Street was, again, another one. Again, it's not going to end up in my top 10 favorite movies of the year or anything, but that was a movie that ended up being better than it should have been. I really enjoyed End of Oak Street. Again, it's not going to be in my top 10 of the year, but I thought End of Oak Street was a surprisingly entertaining movie. And what I said in my review, and I'll echo it again, is that if that movie had been a Jurassic Park movie, it would have been the second best of all the Jurassic movies. Like, still, there's the first one is the best, obviously, but out of all the other Jurassic Park movies, this would have been the second best. I thought it was a really fun little movie. And I thought it was a really great ending. Really, really great ending too for me. Anyway, thank you for that, Patrick. And I hope you and your dad have a great time at End of Oak Street. Don't go see Spa Weekend though. That I did think was going to be good, and it is not. So you can skip Spa Weekend. Don't do that one. All right. Philly on Fire writes, I'm wrong. It's his other hand. Oh, you're talking about what's in Doom's hand. Well, I don't know what's at the 37-second mark. Thanks for the show. I don't come up with theories when you're stony baloney. Yeah, no, it's all good. And listen, who knows, man? Maybe like next time I watch a trailer, I'll see if I can pay attention to if there's something in his hand. And maybe when we see the movie, it does end up being something extremely relevant. We will see. Again, it's just not something I know at the top of my head. You know what I mean, Philly? All right. Thanks for writing again, man. Next up, Yakov writes, where does Coyote Acme land on streaming? I don't know. I don't know that Ketchup, which is the company putting it out now, they're the ones who bought that. Warner Brothers sold the rights to it. I don't know if they have a standing contract with another streamer. So it might just be that it'll, whichever streamer offers them the most money to put it on. But as of right now, I don't know where it will end up on streaming. That will be up to Ketchup. Ketchup will make a deal with a streamer and then it'll go there. So it could be Netflix, Could be Amazon, could be Paramount Plus, could be HBO Max. I doubt it'll be HBO since they gave the movie away. But I mean, yeah, we'll have to see where, but I don't know. I could be wrong about this. I just don't know. I don't know if they've actually made a secondary distribution deal for it yet for when it goes to streaming. All right. Yakov also writes, how's Ray and will you take him to Forgotten Island? Also, my name is pronounced Yakov. Oh, Yakov. Well, I'll probably mispronounce it again. Forgive me, but I'll try to remember that, Yakov. Ray's doing well. I will not be taking him to Forgotten Island because I don't get, it's not like for these special event things, I don't get to pick how many tickets I have, right? So I am asking to bring my mother-in-law, like Ray and Ann's mom, because, you know, that's her country. Philippines is her country. That's where she grew up. Ray grew up here. And then for that special screening, I'm also trying to see if I can get it for our nieces because they're little girls. And I just think they would get I don't think they've ever had a chance to see a movie in a big movie theater that is really highlighting Filipino culture and stuff like that. So I don't even know for 100% for sure if they're going to give me enough seats for that movie. But no, I will not be bringing Ann's sister, Olive, not because I don't want Olive to go, just because I can only get so many, and I will probably not be bringing Ann's brother either. So no, I will not be bringing them to that. All right, next up, Jackson writes, thank you for the advice on Friday, John. Helped a lot. I'd recommend Marcus Ronnie's 20 in St. Louis. Great theater. Can't wait for the meetup. Yeah, I made the announcement yesterday that we have now settled on the 5 cities that we're going to be hitting in September. So just a few weeks for the next leg of the movie meetup. And those 5 cities are Nashville, Charlotte, North Carolina, Atlanta, Georgia, Pittsburgh, and what's the other one? We did land on 5. What did I say the other one was? So it's Atlanta, it's Charlotte, it's Nashville. Oh, it's Pittsburgh and it's St. Louis. So those are the 5. Those are the 5 cities that we're going to be doing for the next leg of the movie meetup tour. And so what I will be doing very soon, probably in the next week or two, is I'll be, as I always do for the movie meetups, I'm going to be going on to the YouTube channel, onto the community tab, and I'm going to be putting up a post, one for each city, saying, hey, everybody in Nashville, what movie theater, it can be either in Nashville or, you know, within 30 minutes of Nashville. What's a movie theater that has a big front of the movie theater that we can all gather outside after the movie's done and hang out for a bit, and has a surface, big, plentiful surface parking because my van can't fit in a garage because it's too tall. So, and then you guys will give me a bunch of recommendations and suggestions, and that's how I pick which theaters we actually go to in each individual city. So I will keep my eye open for that one. Thank you for that, Jackson. Next up, Elliot writes, would you go to Philly for a future movie meetup? I don't know. I mean, I always thought we'll either do Philly or Pittsburgh because they're not far from each other, right? Like, so, does anybody in the live chat know how long of a drive it is from Philly to Pittsburgh? Like, if it's only like an hour or two, you could just drive to Pittsburgh for it. I'm driving 36 hours. So, I mean, I don't know. But I had to pick one between, somebody's saying it's like 5 to 6 hours away. Yeah, I don't know U.S. geography that great. Somebody's saying it's 5 to 6 hours. I didn't know it was that far. Well, you know what? Maybe we will have to do Philly at some point. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. If it's that far away, like if it's an hour or two, it's like somebody keeps saying, you got to come to San Antonio. It's like, dude, we were in a city that was only an hour away from San Antonio. You could have come. But if it's like 5 or 6 hours away, then yes, at some point we'll try to, we'll fit in Philadelphia, but it won't be on this leg of it, but we will do Philadelphia at some point. All right. Thanks for that, Elliot. McDavid Deserves Better writes, I know domestic box office combines Canada and the U.S. Yes, it does. So when you hear domestic, that means, as McDavid just said, that's Canada and U.S. It's not just the U.S. It's Canada and the U.S. So why it is that way, I'm not sure, but that's the way it's always been. So when you hear domestic box office, that includes Canada and the U.S. Still not everybody knows that, but That's the truth. Anyway, are Canada-only metrics even remotely accessible to the public? I don't think they are. I assume studios track it internally. It's not so much the studios that track it internally. There are third-party independent organizations that track that stuff that then give that information to the studios. But to the best of my knowledge, well, you know what? No, I take that back. I take that back, actually. Because if we go over, now I could be wrong about this, but let me just take a look here. No, you know what I thought? I thought maybe like when you go over to the Odyssey, right? If this is on Box Office Mojo, where you can see the Odyssey's now made $1.446 billion. All right. If you click on domestic, you can then look up the individual country, but I thought maybe it'll include Canada, but it does not. But hey, if I want to know how much the Odyssey is made in France, it has made $14 million in France. If I want to know how much it's made in Iceland, Husavik, it has made $794,000 in Iceland. If I want to know how much it made in my heritage, Italy, it has made $56 million in Italy. The Italians, we like the Odyssey. But you see, there is no Canada on this list. So yeah, I guess the answer to that question is no, they don't make that information just readily available to the public about how Canada and the US break up from each other. By the way, I just noticed this. PQ4149 just sent in 50 gift memberships. Dear heavens, PQ, thank you for that, man. That's incredibly generous of you, dude. It's funny, we just had a channel members town hall meeting the other day where all channel members were able to come by and hang out. Thank you so much for that, PQ. Shout out to you, man. That's incredibly great. And I'm looking in the chat now, all these people are receiving those memberships now. That is fantastic. Thank you, dude. That's great. So yeah, as far, I'm sure there is a way to find it. I've just never tried to figure it out because the industry calculates it by domestic, and that means Canada and the US. All right, next up, we got Rich Reviews who writes, have you ever gone to Cat Video Fest in a theater? I have no idea what that even means, Rich. I'm not going to lie to you, man. I have no idea what that even means. All right, Alfie writes, which will have the higher combined domestic box office, Barbenheimer or Doomsday? Doomsday. Yeah. Doomsday. The reason being is Avengers Doomsday by itself may end up with more than Barbenheimer. Because if I go over to the numbers here, and let's take a look for what am I looking for? If I look at Barbie ended up making 1.44 million, and Oppenheimer made just under $1 billion. So you're looking at about 2.3, right? So Barbenheimer combined made about 2.3. Doomsday by itself is going to make more than 2.3. And Dune 3 is probably going to make close to $1 billion as well. So it will easily, Doomsday will easily beat it. Now I know you're asking for domestic, but yeah, I think domestically it's going to absolutely shatter that. I think it'll absolutely shatter that. All right. Thanks for that, Alfie. Rich writes, in the next few weeks, my Alamo will show Angel Heart, The Doors, My Sassy Girl. I never saw that one. Network's great. And Amadeus. That is also. Oh, which one should you see? Ooh. Okay. All due respect to the other ones. I never saw My Sassy Girl. So I confess I can't remember what that one is. All respect to the other ones. Network and Amadeus. My goodness. Amadeus. It's so weird. We haven't talked about Amadeus in forever. And then out of nowhere, I just watched it again, like 2 or 3 years ago. I just watched it. So my God, I forgot because I was a kid when that thing was out. My God, that movie's so good. It's so good. I think it won Best Picture as well. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong in the live chat, but I believe Amadeus won Best Picture at the Academy Awards the year it came out. And holy crap, Network is so good. Network is so good. Honestly, dude, take a coin, toss it between, I mean, go see both. But if you only can have the time to see one, take a coin, toss it between Network and Amadeus. I love both those. Both those movies are so good. All right, next up. Jay Tobin writes, according to Illuminate data, Daredevil Born Again, Season 2, and Wonder Man were top 2 most streamed Disney Plus original shows in the first half of 2026. Apparently people were watching them. No, they weren't, because nobody watches Disney Plus original shows. Being top 2 on something that there doesn't have highly watched original shows doesn't mean anybody's watching. The analogy of that is big fish in a little pond. You can be a fish that's this big, but still be the biggest fish in your pond. But as soon as you get out of your pond into a real body of water, you realize you're a tiny, tiny fish. No, nobody was watching them. Daredevil did not once, even in its debut or its finale, ever crack the Nielsen streaming top 10. Not once. Even in its finale, which should have been its biggest one, that week couldn't even crack the top 10. Being in the top 5 of original Disney Plus streaming, what other Disney Plus original shows did you watch this year? Mickey and his Happy Time Friend House? I mean, I don't even know what else they put out. As the Charlie Unicorn is putting out, Disney Plus, these small potatoes. Everything else, big potatoes. Like, you were top 5 on HBO Max. That's saying something. You're top 5 on Netflix. That's saying something. You're top 5 on Apple. That's saying something. What other original Disney Plus streaming shows are there? That's the thing, though, right? What other streaming Disney Plus shows are original streaming Disney Plus shows are there? Bluey is not an original Disney. Bluey's not original Disney. So that's great that you were the top 2 most streamed Disney Plus original shows. Okay, I'm just asking, what other original Disney Plus shows streamed in the first half of 2026 that it had to compete against? I'm waiting. Not much. That's the thing. The answer is not much. So, yeah, it doesn't really mean anything. Nobody watched it. Nobody watched it, because when you look at the real charts, which take into consideration all the streamers, they never popped up. They never appeared. They never even became a blip on the radar. Now, listen. I don't say any of that. You know, my film loving brethren, that I do not say that to disparage Daredevil at all. You know, I love this show. I think it's great. I think it is a sin that more people aren't watching it, because it's great. But the reality is nobody watched it. And yay, we're at the top of one network that really doesn't put out much. It does that. No, people weren't watching it, unfortunately, Jay Tobin. I mean, so what you're saying is factually true, but then your conclusion of that fact does not equal up with what the actual numbers are. That's what I'm saying. So you got to take context in consideration, Jay Tobin. You got to take the bigger picture in consideration and look at context. Anyway, next up, Rich Reviews writes, best docs: 5, Epic Elvis in Concert; 4, Lauren. I'm going to assume you mean this year. Number 3, Python Hunt. Number 2, Seeds, about black farmers. Number 1, How I Became an Apocalyptimist. I have not seen, well, no, that's not true. I've seen 1 or 2. I have not seen many. I got to admit, I haven't seen many documentaries this year. I usually go on these big obsessive streaks about watching documentaries, because I've made a number of documentaries myself. I really like documentaries, but I really haven't watched many this year. I almost said I haven't watched any, but I have watched some. But I gotta get back into get caught up on all the documentaries this year because I've really not watched many of them yet. All right. Elliot B writes, I agree with you. It's weird we don't have our Trinity years into the DCU. Well, we have parts of it. If quality is most important, would you still accept a DCU 10 years in and still no Trinity, but the movies are great? Yes. Yeah, 100%. I would still think it would be better if we had Batman, but look, if we got 10 years into the DCU and they're just putting out banger after banger, and I don't care if it's Clayface or Booster Gold or Calendar Man or whatever, and they just keep putting on these projects and they keep being just these really wonderful movies and really good experiences going to watch them, then yeah, I'll be happy. I mean, at the end of the day, because who cares if you put out a Batman movie if it's not good? At the end of the day, what we want is good movies. That's all that's important. Now, that being said, all other things being equal, I would rather have a both and. I would rather it be all great projects, which included Batman and Wonder Woman. But if my choices in this theoretical situation that you're pitching, if my choices are, I can either A, have a DCU where Wonder Woman and Batman have been introduced, but the DCU's hit and miss, or B, and these are my only two options, or B, we get a bunch of years in and there's no Batman or Wonder Woman yet, but everything is great in it. Well, if those are my choices, I'm taking the everything is great. Right? Like, what's the point of watching movies if it's not to see a great movie? So if my only two options in this hypothetical situation you're pitching here, Elliot, is either A, have Batman and Wonder Woman, but it's hit and miss, or B, not have Batman and Wonder Woman yet, but everything's great. Well, I'll take everything's great. 100%. 100%. Easy. That's not a decision. That's easy. 100%. If all the movies are great, that's what I'm taking. But fortunately, we don't live in a world that it has to be either or. It can be both and I want both and. They should be aspiring to both and. We got to get Batman and Wonder Woman in there soon. Anyway. All right. Thanks for that, Elliot. Christopher Diaz writes, where are we at? Oh yeah. Just saw Coyote versus Acme. Very funny and deep at times. Deep emotion film. Yeah. I couldn't find any of the fan screenings around me or else I would have already gone to it, but I'm glad some people have had a chance to see it. They're trying to get the word out there that the movie's good. And I hope if it's as good as everybody's saying, like yourself, Christopher, I hope it does better than what it's looking like it's going to do. Thanks for sharing that, Christopher. Next up, Philly writes, I don't know if the MCU is back or ever really left. Oh, it left. Oh, yes, it left. I just think they need to stop forcing less popular characters and just tell more stories with popular characters. So simple. No, on that, with due respect, and we as film fans are allowed to disagree, Philly. All due respect, I think that's completely wrong thinking. What has made Marvel struggle is not that they haven't done enough movies with popular characters. It's that they haven't made the quality of their movies dropped off. That's it. That's it. If the quality had stayed high, none of us would be talking about this. The conversation of is Marvel back would not even be a conversation if the quality of their movies they'd put out for the last 7 years had been consistently high. Some of them have been great. Shang-Chi, Guardians of the Galaxy 3, they have put out a number of films that have still been really good, but they've also put out a massively unequal number of stuff that has been mediocre to poor, which is not what they used to do. And that mediocrity to poor quality has nothing to do about whether the main character is Black Widow, Scarlett Johansson, one of the OG Avengers, and that movie wasn't all that good. I don't think Black Widow was terrible, but it wasn't all that good either. Best thing to come out of Black Widow was Red Guardian. Thank God we have him. But but it does your cinematic universe and it does people's impression of the quality of your movies no no favors if, like, instead of Ant-Man 3, they made, I don't know, what's another, Hulk's a popular character. Okay. Let's say they made Hulk. Okay. But it was every bit as bad as Ant-Man 3. That doesn't help. That doesn't help. That would actually make it even worse. Right? So no, the answer is not doing movies with more popular characters. That's not what caused their decline. What caused their decline was the descent in quality consistency. And it doesn't matter if it's with a popular character, new character, unpopular character. None of that matters if the movie's not good. It really, listen, Captain Marvel was not a popular character, but Captain Marvel made over $1 billion at the box office. Why? Well, partially because the movie was pretty good, but also because the consistency and quality of the MCU was at the place that we were all just expecting everything to be great. It is not a coincidence. And this is the big argument against the whole bullshit fallacy. Oh, there's comic book movie fatigue. Really? Tell that to Spider-Man Brand New Day that just made, it's about to become one of the highest grossing films of all time. Tell that to Deadpool and Wolverine, a film franchise that never made more than 800 million and it just made 1.3 billion. The point is, it is not a coincidence. Everybody thinks there's some magical coincidence. Just believe it on faith. There's a pure coincidence that box office of comic book movies were declining at the exact same time that the overall quality of the movies were declining. Spoiler alert. It's not a coincidence. Vision would call that causality. Causality. They are completely linked. One leads to the other. It is not some magical fairy dust pie in the sky coincidence that at the same time that the overall quality of the projects were declining, that's when the box office was declining as well. It's completely connected. And it is also not a coincidence that as the quality has started to turn the corner and started to come back, we're starting to see box office come back. That is also not a coincidence. It's really, really simple, guys. It's really simple. Just look at what happened to the Transformers movies, right? Michael Bay's Transformers movies, they were just total crap at making billions of dollars, so they just kept doing it. But at some point, the audience was like, these movies are shit, and so they just stopped going. And then you had like Transformers, the Mark Wahlberg Last Night thing, and it, like, by Transformers standards, it tanked. Because eventually that curve will catch up to you. So what I would submit to you, Philly, is that just doing it with more popular characters is not the answer. Getting your act together and making the movies you're making, whether it's with new characters, less popular characters, more popular characters, it doesn't matter. If you get your house in order and make the movies higher quality, you will reap benefits. But if you just make the quality of movie you were making, but with a more popular character, you're just going to hurt your reputational damage even more, which will long-term hurt your box office even more for future films. So yeah, it's all connected, but I don't think, I don't think just making them, in my opinion, Philly, it's making the movies with more popular characters was not solve the thing. Wouldn't solve the thing. Anyway. All right. Next up, we've got Noah, who writes, I think Marvel was never really gone. One loss makes people think everything that came before it was a loss, but there are still more hits than misses post Endgame. But again, you're missing the lead here, Noah. Between Iron Man and Endgame, the magic word here is consistency. The quality of the MCU was consistently sky high. Yes, Iron Man 2, Thor the Dark World notwithstanding. But in those 20 plus projects, 25 plus, however many there were, it was just banger after banger. Again, some better than others, but all banger after banger after banger. They were all really good. Since Endgame, that is no longer true. Notwithstanding where we are right now. But for the 6 to 7 years after Endgame, that was no longer true. That consistency, like a fart in the wind, was gone. It was gone. Marvel went from this to this. Yeah, that is a significant major difference. When we go from expecting a new Marvel thing we're watching to be great to turning on the new Marvel show or going into a movie theater for the new Marvel movie and we're just sitting there crossing our fingers hoping that it's at least good, that's a major downgrade. It is a major downgrade. But it looks, which way do I need to point? It looks like that is now turning around. And by the way, like I agree with you 100%. I agree with you 100% that one loss does not mean everything's gone. Absolutely not. Like when people would be saying, oh, they had this one good movie, that means Marvel's back. I'm like, oh, hold on a second. One good thing does not equal it's back. And I agree. One bad thing doesn't mean it's derailed. That's why I'm arguing with people all the time. Like, yeah, Supergirl was bad. You saw my out of the theater reaction when I saw it for the first time. I came in, I'm like, this is not a good movie, guys. I was super excited for it. I was so hyped for it. I really thought Supergirl was going to be good, and it was a bad movie. Like, you saw my out of theater reaction. But then I have to tell everybody, because everybody has such a short memory and is so short-sighted. Everything's like, that's it, the DCU's falling off its thing. It's like, guys, Creature Commandos was very well received. Most people like it more than I do. Like I like Creature Commandos. I thought it was good. I enjoyed it, but I don't like it as much as a lot of other people do, be that as it may. Peacemaker's fantastic. Superman was a success by every metric. And then there was Supergirl. One thing does not derail everything. Because guess what? Now what's happened after Supergirl? Well, now we got Lanterns, and it looks amazing so far. At least we've only seen one episode. It can come off the rails. We've seen that happen too. But man, if the first episode is any indication, Lanterns looks amazing. So I agree with you. It's not just one thing derailed, but the problem with the MCU was that it wasn't one thing. It was never one thing. It was Ironheart. And it was Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. And it was Captain America: Brave New World. And it was Secret Invasion. And it was She-Hulk. And it was Echo. And it was like just on and on. It wasn't one thing. It was a resoundingly successful, consistently high quality cinematic universe that suddenly became incredibly inconsistent and hit and miss. So that's why I think it's legit to say that it needed to come back, to ask. That's why I think the question, is Marvel back, a legitimate question. So that's the way I see it. Know it at any rate. Anyway, next up, Brian writes, did you get to watch Tony? I saw Friday night and it was fantastic. I did not. Ann and I had a choice to go see Spa Weekend or Tony. Now, the reason I chose to go see Spa Weekend, which in hindsight was a mistake, but it was because the presentation they showed us at CinemaCon for it looked extremely funny. Like way better than the trailers did. The presentation they gave us for Spa Weekend looked like a bit of a girls' trip ripoff, yes, but that's fine as long as the movie delivers and makes me laugh and is a great experience. And the presentation they showed us for Spa Weekend at CinemaCon was great. Like really, really great. So I had been looking forward to watching it. And we don't get a lot of great comedies anymore. Like it's not often we get a great comedy. So we decided let's go see Spa Weekend. So we go to see Spa Weekend and boy, that was bad. It's a bad movie, guys. It's bad. It's bad. It has its moments, has some people in it that I absolutely adore, like Leslie Mann. I love Leslie Mann. I have an unhealthy, huge fandom for her. I think she's great. I've been in love with her ever since 40-Year-Old Virgin. Anyway, she's married to Judd Apatow, by the way. Anyway, but the movie was just bad. It was so bad. So I probably should have gone to see Tony. So, yeah, that was that. And then, so then last night, Ann and I had a big social thing that we were doing. And then today, Ann's is off golfing with some people from work. So she's off golfing today while I'm doing this show. And a little bit later, we got Lanterns we're going to watch. I'm going to watch Lanterns later. So I'm going to go see Tony this week because I really do want to see it. It looks fantastic, but I have not seen it yet. All right. Kresh writes, what's your expectations on Lanterns tonight? Man, they've gone up. They've gone up. I mean, I was hoping Lanterns would be good, but you don't know until you start watching it. But now that I've seen that first episode, my expectations have gone up. So they're pretty high right now, dude. They're pretty high. All right. Bry Guy writes, do you have any sleeper NFL teams you think can make the playoffs this year that did not make it last year? I'm going Saints. I don't have the same belief in the Saints. I don't have the same belief in the Saints. Everybody thinks I'm crazy when I say this. The New York Football Giants. Dude, listen. Everybody last year thought the Giants had a lot of really nice pieces, and they do. They have some very nice pieces. Not Super Bowl contending pieces, but they have some very nice pieces. And they underperformed. They lost a bunch of close games and some that they let slip away late, but they're not, like, everybody kind of felt they're not that far. They're very far off from being a Super Bowl contender, but not that far off from maybe being a playoff team. Guys, they just brought in John Harbaugh, who I don't mind telling you is a top 5 best coach in the NFL. How Baltimore let this guy get away, I have no idea what they were smoking. But they just got in John Harbaugh. And do I think that makes them a Super Bowl contending team? No. But look at what happened to the Bears last season. You bring in the right coach, and some really good things can happen if you've got the right pieces. And look what happened with the Bears last season. I think the Giants this year are surprisingly going to very much be in it for a playoff spot. I really do. I think that I think that's going to all be about Harbaugh. Anyway. All right. Micah writes, me and my girlfriend, who's Filipino, by the way, are taking a trip across the border to Toronto in October. Nice, for a Leafs game. I was wondering if there's any other fun things you'd recommend around the city for us to do. Well, now look, to be fair, I have not lived in the Toronto area for 16 years. It was like 16 years ago that me and a buddy packed up my car and made the drive to Los Angeles, and I haven't spent a lot of time home since. So I'm not really up to date on the fun things to do, but obviously go to the lakeshore, walk around the lakeshore. It's amazing. See the skyline, the city line. It's amazing. If you have a chance to go up the CN Tower, obviously that's something you got to try to do. Toronto is like one of the greatest cities it's not as like great as Vegas, but it's one of the greatest cities in the world for eating, wonderful restaurants and stuff like that. So, and go to the Hockey Hall of Fame. I'm a hockey guy, but Hockey Hall of Fame would be a great idea too. All right. Hope you have a good time, Micah. Bales writes, sending love and support from Australia last 5 years. Oh, thank you so much for that, man. From Australia, and you're clearly a Detroit Lions fan too. Nice. Thank you for that, dude. Brandon writes, Sarah Hallie Finn deserves awards for how amazing she has been casting the MCU. Low-key an unsung hero of the MCU and deserve more recognition. I don't know that she's cast the whole MCU. Like, I think a number of projects have their own casting people. And I can't remember if Sarah was the same person, but I remember talking to James Gunn about Guardians of the Galaxy. James Gunn had come into the studio and come in to talk about Guardians of the Galaxy. I'm going to see if I can find this. I doubt that I can, but I'm going to give it a shot nonetheless. And we started talking about, I'm going to see if I can find this. I'm not sure I can. We started talking about Let me try this. I really want to find this picture. I hope I can find it. I'm going to doubt that I can. But at any rate, he came in and we talked about casting. We talked about casting and all the things that went into like casting the roles and all that kind of stuff. And here's the thing. Most of the time, not a huge majority, but most of the time for MCU, the directors have a direct say in who's going to get cast in a role, right? Because it's their movie that they're working with. Sometimes, though, they don't get to have that say because it might be a character they're casting that Kevin Feige has bigger plans for than just that one movie, right? So it could be a situation where they're casting a role. I don't know. I'm trying to think of a good example. A good example of this might be Ant-Man. So I don't know, and I'm saying I don't know, so don't take this as definitive, but I don't know if the director of Ant-Man had all the discretion in choosing who Ant-Man was going to be, or if that was more of a Kevin Feige decision, knowing that Ant-Man was going to play a significant role for him in the MCU moving forward in general. So that's that. But I do know that the director will work with the casting people. But when it comes to making the decision, right? When it comes to making the big decision about who's going to play this role, especially when it comes to bigger characters, it's not the casting director who gets the say. It's really up to the director or Kevin Feige. By the way, this was the picture I was looking for. I wanted to, I've shown this picture before, I think, but I want to show it here because little did I know, this is back when we had Kevin Feige and James Gunn and Chris Pratt on my movie talk show. But little did I know, as I look back on this picture now, that I was standing with the head of Marvel and the head of DC. This is back when James still had dark hair. But I didn't realize, I didn't know that I was standing with both the heads of Marvel and the head of DC at the same time. Didn't realize it at that moment. I wasn't able to appreciate or savor the fact that this is pretty rare. Yes, the head of DC, the head of Marvel, and Mario at the same time. But again, listen, I love Chris. I've had a chance to get together and chat with Chris on a number of occasions. He's one of my favorite guys in Hollywood, Chris. But I'm standing with the heads of DC and Marvel in the same picture. That to me is pretty awesome. So I wanted to share that a little. But yeah, so that was the day that I was talking to James about casting, stuff like that. And yes, he has the casting person, and they were trying to pitch Chris Pratt to him for Star-Lord. And James Gunn just didn't see it. It's like, nah. The chubby guy from Parks and Rec, nah. But James said, I finally gave in on like the third or fourth time that she said, I really want you to meet with Chris Pratt. So he finally said yes. And James Gunn said, 5 minutes into my conversation with Chris, I knew he was Star-Lord. So it's still the directors and Kevin that make the pick. But these casting people, they know what they're doing. And the ones that work with Marvel have been great because listen, love or hate Marvel, their casting is usually, like Rob talks about this all the time, their casting is usually bang on the money. Like their casting is great. Even sometimes when some of the movies don't work out so well, the casting is great. Like I may not have ended up liking Moon Knight, but holy crap, who they cast for Moon Knight was perfect. Right? So anyway, there's that. All right, next up. Go Paula writes, by 2029, people will forget there was ever a slump. Maybe, like goes back to the thing that I always talk about. Winning cures everything. Or Doomsday sucks, and we all remember that they've been in a slump, so we'll see. All right, Daniel writes, just got out of Coyote versus Acme. Again, a lot of people went to that fan screening. Such a fun movie. Really hope it gains traction over the next few weeks, despite low box office projections. Again, I might even go to, like, look, I'm 100% going to go see Coyote versus Acme. That's a non-negotiable. I'm absolutely going to go see it opening night. But like I said a little bit earlier in the show, I might even go see, I might break my 3-4 year long rule, and I might actually accept this press invite and go see a press screening of it, just so I can help promote it. Maybe I will, maybe I won't, but for the first time in a long, I'm really seriously thinking about it, so we'll see. All right, Mr. I writes, one of two. Like you, I dislike the term comic accurate due to the number of variations. The term is a misnomer. I prefer the term most commonly accepted. Where's part 2? There it is. That being said, yes, the origin of Magneto being based in the Holocaust would not work for modern day interpretation without changing other aspects of the character like aging speed. Right, which is not a part of Magneto. That is not a part of him. And again, so who was it? Somebody coined the phrase that a little bit of knowledge is a very dangerous thing. A little bit of knowledge is a dangerous thing. Yes, Magneto lately has had the backstory of World War II and the concentration camps. But that was not always his origin story. It used to be something different, and they changed it. Actually, they've changed it a number of times. They didn't even introduce, despite the fact that Magneto's been around forever, they didn't even introduce the World War II connection until 1981. Before that, that was not his story. And by the way, even after that, they changed it. They changed Magneto's background to being Roman, which is not anything else. And then after that, they later changed it back to the World War II connection. Yeah, again, so it's, well, what's comic accurate is that he's not even Jewish, because his true origins, he wasn't. So it's, you got to be, see, when people use the term comic accurate, they often, whether they realize it or not, mean accurate to the one little part of that comic's history that I know about. Like saying, Batman doesn't kill people. That's comic accurate. Well, that's not actually true. Because if you know the history of the Batman character in the comics, yeah, for a lot of years he killed people. Not like Punisher killed people, but yeah, he was always very sensitive. I only kill people in self-defense. So it's not comic accurate. It's accurate to the limited era of the comic that you are familiar with. But anyway, yeah, so it is very, it always kind of makes me chuckle a little bit when people say comic accurate, because, well, comic accurate to one thing, but not in its whole history is something you do have to be careful about. Yeah. All right. Cameron Bird writes, my predicts for 5 most grossing movies: Avengers Endgame, after Encore. Yeah, probably it'll probably leapfrog Avatar. 3.1 billion. Secret Wars, Secret Wars 3 bill. Avatar 2.92. Doomsday 2.8. Brand New Day 2.45. Well, then here's the thing. But then after they do Avengers Encore to get it to leapfrog over Avatar, at some point they're going to do a 30th anniversary release, or if James Cameron does get around to making the next Avatar movie, they'll do an Avatar re-release, and then it will leapfrog over Endgame again. I think Endgame, Secret Wars notwithstanding, because Secret Wars, if Doomsday is good, look. If Doomsday is even just, not better than, but if Doomsday is just on par with the 4 previous Russo brothers MCU movies, Winter Soldier, Civil War, Infinity War, Endgame. If Doomsday is on par with those films, there's not even a point in trying to guess how big Secret Wars could be. If Doomsday, and this is a big if, but if Doomsday ends up being on the same level as Winter Soldier, Civil War, Infinity War, Endgame, not better than, on the same level as, and that's a tall order, but if it is, throw any guesses you've got about Secret Wars out the window, because I'm going to tell you right now, $3 billion is not its ceiling. I can't even believe we're talking about $3 billion in a movie. I can't even believe it. But if Doomsday is on that level, the potential for Secret Wars is just becomes stupid. It will. I'll call it now, August 23rd, 2026. If Doomsday is on the level of the previous Kevin Feige, Russo brother Marvel movies, I have no doubt that Secret Wars will become the highest grossing film of all time. Now, got to get through Doomsday first, because maybe it's not on the same level. Maybe it's good, but not great. Maybe it's disappointing. I'm just saying, if we come out of Doomsday buzzing like we did out of those previous 4 movies, Secret Wars, there's no metric to measure. Like, how big it can be will be ridiculous. So we'll see, though. We got a long way to go to that, but we'll see. All right, Bale's right. Showed my mom X-Men. Now she's hyped for Doomsday. Oh, like the original, like Bryan Singer X-Men? And look, by the way, whenever I mention Bryan Singer, I will inevitably get some people, right, say, John, you really shouldn't talk about him. You really shouldn't talk about Bryan Singer. Well, I have 2 things to say about that. Number one, and I think this is important. I really do think this is important. I don't just discard all the rumors and allegations about Bryan Singer. I don't just discard them. But what one should also not discard is the fact that Bryan Singer has never been charged or found guilty in any court of doing anything wrong ever. I'm just saying, just like I don't just discard the accusations and the rumors about him. I don't just discard those. All I'm saying is that at the same time, one should not just discard the fact that he's never been charged or found guilty of anything. I'm just saying you need to keep both of those in your head when you want to talk about Bryan Singer. But be that as it may, I don't have a very high opinion of Mel Gibson as a person, right? That doesn't change the fact that I do think he is a remarkably gifted director. And actually, if we're talking about it, I also think he's a remarkably gifted actor. I think he's a great actor. I think he's honestly maybe one of the top 15 best directors of our generation. Like, I think he's a remarkable director too. And so that doesn't take away from anything when I think about Braveheart and stuff like that. So every once in a while when thinking about the X-Men movies, and by the way, the only reason we have a golden era of comic book movies right now is because of Bryan Singer's X-Men. That may not be comfortable to think about, but it's true. It's damn true. Quoting a little Kurt Angle. The only reason we have a golden age of comic book movies that we've enjoyed for the past ton of years is because of that first X-Men movie. That's just the fact. That's just real talk for you right now. So anyway, I just mentioned that, but yeah, man, those first two those first two Bryan Singer X-Men films, are just fantastic. And really that with the first Sam Raimi Spider-Man movie, I mean, really paved the way. And they are great movies. They're still now. Let's not talk about X-Men 3, which I still think has some good things in it. But yeah, let's not talk about X-Men 3. But yeah, those first two X-Men, man, they're great. They are great. Again, somebody who doesn't understand history, and maybe you're too young, maybe not. But Adam would say, no, it's because of Spider-Man. No, it's not. That's just the fact. X-Men came out first. And when it came out, a number of big Hollywood producers, including like, I'm forgetting the main guy who's the main producer behind the Harry Potter movies. Why am I freezing on his name? But anyway, a number of large Hollywood producers have been on record and big studio execs saying that when X-Men came out, it wasn't Blade. Blade was great. I mean, I love Blade, but it wasn't Blade that did this. It was X-Men that did this. He said, and why am I freezing on the damn guy's name? Anyway, he said, that was the moment when we realized what comic book movies could be. Because before X-Men, comic book movies were seen as, yeah, they can be these big bombastic, whatever things, and like very visceral, and they can be all that stuff, right? Blade is a great example of that. But it was X-Men, particularly like even that opening scene, the opening scene of X-Men with young Magneto being torn from his family in the concentration camps. Like, I remember just myself going, wait a minute, this is a comic book movie. Like today, it's not unusual, but at that time, those of you who may not have been old enough to remember, at that time, when that opening of that movie happening, we were like, what the hell is this? Like, this isn't a comic book. You don't have this kind of drama in a comic book movie. And I remember the producer saying it was at that moment that we, and he meant Hollywood as a whole, that it was that moment that we realized comic book movies could be something completely different. Comic book movies could be something we never really considered them to be. And it was that first X-Men movie that did that. Now, Sam Raimi's Spider-Man came along and it doubled down on that, and X-Men 2 and it doubled down on that. And then we got momentum, but it was that first X-Men movie that cracked the seal. It was really that first X-Men movie that cracked the seal, that made the industry look at comic book movies differently. That without that, I don't think we would live in the comic book age that we have now. Anyway, that's just that. All right. Let's see. Next up, where are we at now? Okay, yeah, that was Bales. Next up, we've got, we already had Mr. I. Now, next up, we've got Yusuke, who writes, the one concern I have about Doomsday, and I have a couple myself, but the one concern I have about Doomsday is that many of the fans aren't emotionally or intellectually prepared to engage with the logic of the film's dark narrative. If my assumptions are correct, I disagree. I think one of the biggest mistakes that not just Hollywood makes, but that the film fan community makes, is we underestimate the audience. I really do. I think sometimes we underestimate the stupidity of people. We've got Donald Trump in the White House. That's all the evidence you need. However, yes, we often do underestimate the stupidity of people, but we also, I think as movie fans, I think we underestimate the power or the ability of the audience to understand what's happening in a movie. Like, I'm sorry, like, I understand a lot of things that would happen in Doomsday. But when you're talking about prepare to engage with the logic's film dark narrative, guys, come on. We've seen Schindler's List. The darker narrative doesn't come close to the darker narrative that we've had in a lot of movies that the audience is perfectly able to understand. It's perfectly able to understand. But here's the thing, Yusuke, I'm often guilty of it too. I admit it. I'm often guilty of that I sometimes will underestimate the ability of the audience to be able to understand what's going on and stuff like that. So I don't think the audience is going to be the problem. I think there are some issues that I'm concerned about with Doomsday, but they all have to do with the movie. It's not about the audience or the audience's ability to grasp what's going on, because if the audience can grasp what's going on in movies like Schindler's List and many others since then, if the audience can grasp and wrestle with what's going on in The Green Book if the audience can wrestle and understand what's going on with like a lot of modern movies, they'll be able to handle it in a Marvel film. So I have worries too, but my worries are more about the movie itself, not the audience. All right. Let's see. Next up, Robert Presser writes, there's a new anime coming that's right up Rob's alley called Jurassic Shadows. In modern day, ninjas defend society from dinos and dino-human hybrids. Now, I don't know if he's going to watch it. And I also know Rob's not that big into animation. He's got some anime stuff he really likes, but he's more into live action stuff. I think if that were a live action thing, I think it would really get his interest. All right. Abraham writes, love the show, John. Love from Ireland. Oh, thank you, man. Just wanted to write in something to be supportive and kind. Thank you, Abraham. I appreciate that, man. Next up, Lou writes and sends in a $20 super chat. Thank you, Lou. Appreciate that, man. Lou writes, John, you say a movie has to make 2.5 its budget. No. If you're going to quote me, at least quote me accurately. I have never said that. I'll lay it out what I say, but I have never said that. Hold on a second. John, you say a movie has to make 2.5 its budget to make a profit. But how do taxes factor in? Do they pay taxes for every country it makes money in? Okay. First of all, I have never said a movie has to make 2.5 its budget. Never said that, because budget is only one part of filmmaking expenses. Okay. To be clear, what I say, and I'll bring it up here. If you want to figure out roughly what the break-even point of a movie is, roughly speaking, okay? Some will be a little bit more, some will be a little bit less, but if you want a general ballpark, like if you're talking about a movie coming out and you want just a general idea about roughly what's the rough area it needs to come in to break even, you need to do this. The calculation is production. Where's my little, I don't know where it is on here. Here we go. Production plus marketing multiplied by 1.5 equals break even. The general idea, if you just want a general ballpark, it is production, but you cannot forget about the marketing costs. The marketing can be very cheap. It could be very expensive. You can't just think about production. And oftentimes the marketing is more expensive than the production. But generally speaking, if you just don't want to, for conversation, you just want a rough general target. The math is normally production plus marketing multiplied by 1.5 basically gets you your break-even point, generally speaking. Now, how does that thing with taxes? They take all that into consideration. But remember, a movie is not a thing in and of itself, right? It's a part of a larger body. And that's just a part of making a movie is just a daily operating thing for that company, like anything else. Like, oh, we unloaded this truck of milk today. Oh, we brought in this many cars into the dealership. That's just daily business. So for these studios, putting out a movie is just daily business. So it's all kind of calculated all together. So yeah, they figure all that into it. It's not really a part of the discussion, because then taxes become a part of the discussion, which taxes are not a unique discussion to the movie industry. It's a thing that everything deals with, right? So it's not a part of the discussion for any of the movies we talk about. But yes, studios have to pay taxes, but they also come across with some really creative ways to avoid a lot of the taxes. Creating independent corporations for each movie. Then there's something called Hollywood marketing, where they kind of skew how expensive it was to make the movie compared to what the actual outcome was. They deal. So all that kind of stuff is taken into consideration already. All right. Now, it should be noted here, I have never worked on a $50 million film. Quel surprise, right? Woo, that's a revelation. I've never worked on a $50 million movie. I'm not the best guy to give the perfect thing on that. But generally speaking, it's something that's already taken into account. All right. Next up, Francisco writes, John, I thought Born Again Season 2 was much closer to Netflix Daredevil. I thought it was on par with Netflix Daredevil. I'll be honest with you. With viewership down nearly 50%, could Season 3 be the end with Daredevil moving to MCU movies? Why, if nobody is watching him for free, why would they pay to go watch him in movies? See, that's the thing that I've brought up a lot. Like, if nobody is watching Daredevil for free at home, what makes anybody think that you're gonna get a whole bunch of people? And the reason I bring this up is because we've talked about this before on the show. Why would any of us, or why would a studio assume, well, they're not watching Matt and Daredevil when they can watch them at home for free weekly if they want? Bet you they pay a lot of money to come out and see him in a movie. Like, there's no reason to believe that would have anything. So I could see them now and again throwing him in as a secondary character in somebody else's movie, like popping up like he did in Spider-Man No Way Home. But that'll be it. Like, you're not going to see a Punisher and Daredevil movie. Like, you're not going to see that. Maybe as a Disney Plus special at best. You're not going to see, like, I had this debate with somebody the other day, said, oh, the next Spider-Man movie is going to be a Spider-Man Daredevil crossover. I'm like, no, it's not. No, it's not. I mean, you might see Daredevil pop up in a guest role. Yeah, you could do that, but he's not going to be a frontline character like Deadpool and Wolverine. Like, maybe there'll be Spider-Man 5. And maybe Matt will be in it like Frank was in this one, but Frank only had a certain amount of screen time. And I think at most you'd see that. But no, when you look at the viewership drop off for Daredevil, which I thought was great, but when you look at the viewership numbers and the massive drop off and all that kind of stuff, I don't believe there's any reason to believe that there's going to be a season 4. I just, unless magically the viewership numbers completely rebound, which I hope they do, but that's not likely, then I don't see any reason to believe, that we should expect a season 4. And I see even less reason to believe that they're just going to move him into the movies when nobody cares about Daredevil. I do. You do, but apparently not many people do. So there's no reason Marvel will go, well, let's put him in movies. Well, for what? Like, why? Why not put another character in movies that you think more people are interested in? Again, as cameo, yes. As small supporting roles, like Mark Ruffalo in Spider-Man Brand New Day, yeah, I could see that, but nothing that's a headline, because people don't watch Daredevil, which is really unfortunate, dude. All right. Next up, Johnny Weiner writes, should we expect the Jim Lee X-Men costume in the new movie? Personally, I would like to see team uniforms like their first appearance from the comics, or something like 2000's X-Men Evolution TV show. I don't know, man. I've evolved through the years. Like, I've gone through different stages as a film fan about how I feel about using comic accurate costumes on the screen, because sometimes I think they look utterly ridiculous, and then sometimes they can adapt them in such a way that makes them look great, right? Black Thunder, or Black Lightning, I should say. Black Lightning was a great example of this. I really like the Black Lightning show. I thought that was a really good show. Tobias Whale was a great villain in it. I thought the performances were all good, but man, that costume was so bad. Like, it was almost, I mean, I still love the show even though the costume was bad, but come on, that costume was like legendarily bad, but it looked a lot like it was in the comic book. Yeah. So I go through phases. So I don't know what they're going to do. All I know is this. While I have gone back and forth about how I feel about certain costumes that I think look fine on a comic book page, but look kind of ridiculous in a movie, and sometimes I feel better about them, sometimes I feel worse. What I have always believed, and I still do, is that it doesn't matter. I still believe it doesn't matter. If a movie's badly written and isn't put together well, having a great costume on the character does not change a damn thing. If a movie is great, but they have kind of a weird costume on the character, doesn't change a damn thing. The movie's still great. So I go back and forth over what I feel about the need to have whatever, but not the need, but how I feel about whether a costume's on screen or comic accurate or not. I go back and forth. I'm sure I will continue to do that. But the one thing that hasn't changed me is that I don't think it matters. I don't think it matters. Ultimately, at the end of the day, the costume and the character doesn't make the movie better, and it doesn't make it worse. So that's how I feel. Brock is saying, they used to care, John. That's why he was put into Spider-Man No Way Home for 3 minutes. That's my point. Like, you just made my point. If people really cared and they thought he would be a draw, then he would have been in it more than 3 minutes. They couldn't even give him 10 minutes. And that's where I think they can still use him. I think he can still be used up until and to the level of like the way Mark Ruffalo was used, right? And Mark Ruffalo's Hulk character is a much more popular character, but they just, I mean, Mark Ruffalo had like what, 10 minutes of screen time in the movie? Maybe? Anyway, I think you can use Daredevil like that, but you're never going to have a Daredevil movie in theaters, and you're never going to have like Spider-Man and Daredevil like you had Deadpool and Wolverine. You're never going to have that. If we ever do get more Matt in the movies, it's going to be like Brand New Day. It's going to be small. It's going to be guest appearance. It's going to be small supporting, because nobody watches him. Again, if people liked him, people cared, then people would watch the show, but they don't. And that hurts me to say that, because I love the show. I think y'all should be watching Daredevil Born Again. I think it's great. I don't know why more people aren't watching it. They totally should. It's really good television. But what I care about and what I like is irrelevant when you come down to the numbers, and the data says people don't care. Sorry, I mean, we can feel however we feel. You and I certainly feel a certain way, but the data says people don't care. And that sucks, but it is what it is, you know? So yeah, I don't see a guest appearance, a small supporting appearance in movies. Yes. A marquee name in movies? Nope. No, there's just no reason to do it. All right. Last question of the day. Says, I am savvy. Says, the GOAT Campea. Can't wait to meet you in the A. I'm assuming that means Atlanta. Yeah, man, I'm excited about the next leg. I really am. I am, you know what? I'm running out of cities too. I mean, we've pretty much done there's like, after this one, I don't know what's left. Like probably Houston, maybe Philadelphia. I don't know if we already did Florida, because we did Orlando. I don't know if I'll do Miami or not, because Miami is a really it's as far away as you can possibly get. And there's nothing else around it. So I don't know if I'll ever do Miami. I mean, I would love to go to Miami, but that's a long trip. We're starting to run out of cities to go to. I'm sure we still have one or two more legs after this one, but I am excited for this one. Again, it will be Nashville, St. Louis, Pittsburgh, Atlanta, and Charlotte. I've never been to Charlotte, North Carolina. So I'm kind of excited to go and do that one as well. And all right, guys, that will do it. 2 hours. My goodness. That will do it for today's installment of Open Mic. Thank you so much for being here, guys. Thank you to like the well over 1,000 of you guys here for an open mic in the live chat. Appreciate you guys being here and all the comments you've made in there. And listen, sometimes we've said some things that we all disagree on, but that's the point, right? Like as movie fans, we're watching art, and art should elicit different feelings in all of us. So if I disagreed with you about something, that's not me saying that your feeling on something doesn't have any validity. It's the way you feel, just like it's the way I feel. It makes your opinion no less and no more valid than mine. But that's the whole point of being film fans, right? So thank you to everybody for joining in the conversation. Thank you to all you guys who sent in the super chats. Number one, because you gave us great fun things to talk about. But number two, you supported this channel as you did it. And everybody involved with the channel, thanks you guys so much for your support. Of course, guys, the John Campea Show will return tomorrow. And tomorrow night will be a Lanterns after show. We're not going to do it tonight after the show because we want people to have a chance to watch it first. But tomorrow night, we're going to be, I'm not sure what time yet, but we will be doing a Lanterns episode 2 after show tomorrow evening. I hope you guys can join us for that. Make sure you join us tomorrow as well. I'll look forward to seeing you then, guys. My name is John Campea, and until next time, my friends, bye-bye.